green-skinned children rocking up in a medieval town in the 1100s. Blanche Monnier, the wealthy, beautiful woman, locked up for 25 years. Roman Emperor Caligula versus Neptune, god of the sea. The dancing plague of 1518, and the Hammersmith Ghost murder. These are the odd and morbid and weird stories that we will go through today. I'm Pilvi, this is Morbid History, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Every job must be carefully analyzed.
Story 1. The green-skinned children of Woolpit. One fine day, in the small town of Woolpit in England, a pair of siblings rocked up, but not any kind of siblings. They had a green tint to their skin, they wore weird clothing, and spoke gibberish. The entire town was shooketh, or so the legend says. They only ate green beans, and sadly the younger one, the boy sibling, dearly departed, not long after the aforementioned rocking up. The sister, though, survived and adjusted well into her new life. She learned English, and the green tint started disappearing as soon as she ate other things than green beans. She was seen, though, as wanton and impudent. By the locals. Beyond that, she started telling of her recollection of what happened before they came to Woolpit. Her story was that they came from a land devoid of sunlight. It was more like a twilighty light. Not a movie, but movies. Either way, this land was called St. Martin Land, and everyone and everything there were green. That was her story, and she stuck by it. Is this a folk tale, a legend, told by some as truth? Because that's fun? Or is there a natural explanation to all this? Some say that the children could have been Flemish immigrants that wandered off from their home, and that the stories about St. Martin Land and all that was just like the memories of a small child after growing up. I mean, it can get a bit foggy. Also, they could have been green because of a thing called the green sickness even back then, which was caused by a deficiency in the body from eating badly, which would explain why her skin grew up and became normal after eating normal food, not just green beans. Maybe, mayhaps. Will we ever know? Probably not. But it's fun either way, isn't it? A bit quirky, you know. Woo! Story 2. Blanche Monnier. A wealthy, beautiful socialite in France who was locked up in a dark room by herself for 25 years. It wasn't until 1901 when the authorities got a letter that stated, "Monsieur Attorney General, I have the honor to inform you of an exceptionally serious occurrence. I speak of a spinster who is locked up in Madame Monnier's house, half starved and living in a putrid litter for the past 25 years. In a word, in her own filth. As they have to, authorities busted in and found Blanche in a skeletal state. She weighed only 25 kilos. I'm gonna put it up here what that is in for people who don't know kilos, but that's very, very little. Starvation, anorexia. She was skeletal, like I already said, and she was there in her own filth, in her own excrement, waste products, old food all over her, and she was laying completely as God intended on a yucky straw mattress. The police couldn't even get into the room at first because the stench was so overpowering. They couldn't go in. Either way, they got her out of there and put her in a hospital. Her mental state wasn't good by any means. She talked like a child, if she talked at all. And wouldn't put clothes on and stuff like that. They had to shave off all of her hair because it had matted into a dirt clump. The hair clump in itself weighed almost a bit over 2 kilos, which is a lot too. There must have been things in there. Her mother was taken into custody. Also her brother, who had known about the whole thing. Mom, though, passed away after 15 days. The son, Marcel, the brother of Blanche, he got a 15-year prison sentence. That was the harshest sentence they could give him. Blanche lived out her life at a psychiatric hospital where she was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, schizophrenia, and exhobonism. She liked to be at her natural state. But what led to this point? Some accounts say that Blanche, who was born in 1849 into a very well-to-do family, a socialite, they were wealthy, she was beautiful and gained a lot of attention. Then, at the age of 25, she decided to tell her parents that she was in love with a lawyer, which made her mother extremely angry because of the penniless lawyer or peasant lawyer, as different accounts state that she called him. They had a big old row, and the mother locked Blanche into a room, saying that she would let her out when she gave up on the whole idea of marrying the lawyer man, which she never did, and therefore Blanche just never came out. That's one story. Other stories state that Blanche had been experiencing signs of mental unwellness around that time, 25-ish. Early signs of schizophrenia, we would call it today, and that her mother just put her in a room instead of sending her to an asylum, which would have been bad for Blanche, she thought, or it would tarnish the family reputation. Some sources also even state that it was Blanche herself that did not want to leave her room or clean her room and wanted to be there in entire darkness. and that her family just didn't know how to deal with it. Either way, Blanche passed away in 1913, still in that psychiatric hospital. Which of these explanations or stories do you think rings most true? Please let me know down below. I'm super curious. Dear friends, please consider just giving the little like button a nice pat and maybe hitting the subscribe button because it does really help the channel a lot. Boost the algorithm, and I promise you, it doesn't hurt. And now, number 3. That one time Emperor Caligula decided to wage war with his entire army against the sea and the god Neptune. Yep, one fine day, he took his his army in full armor, in full fight mode, and marched them down to a beach, where he started stabbing at the waves and instructed his men to do the same. Then they had to collect seashells as bounty trophies of their great victory? I don't know. Why? You might ask yourself. Well, there's many theories. 1. Personal slight. He felt that the god Neptune and the sea, ocean were working against him. He had just failed an attempt to invade Britain, and Neptune could have helped more. Or just the memory of his father's failings. He wanted to vindicate him, and vengeance for sinking his father's ships way back when. Is this story even true? Scholars think no. But it's still very odd and fun. I mean, Caligula was known to be quite mad in so many ways. So why can't we have this one? Why can't we just say that he waged war against the water? It's a fun picture to keep in your brain vault and laugh at. Yep, that's that. Next one! Number 4. The Dancing Plague of 1518. This is a case that is often described as mass hysteria that happened in what is modern-day France. It started with one woman called Frau Trofea, who, for some reason, just started to dance, and soon a bunch of people started to dance with her. Some so much that they went straight and cancelled their live subscriptions, no refunds. It is thought that the amount of people dancing, it's been different sources, different amounts, all from 50 to 400. Just continuous, uncontrollable dancing until demise. So yeah, was it mass hysteria caused by stress? Was it divine punishment for people being terrible? Or that they were poisoned by an extra fun fungus that was lurking in their bread called ergot? Because one of the symptoms of ergot poisoning is spasms, which is not dancing, but yeah, okay. Either way, it's still a mystery to this day why so many people just randomly decided why so many people started dancing their lives away. We'll probably never know, but what a way to go. And now our last story, number 5, the Hammersmith Ghost. which turned into a murder. Sometime in 1803 in Hammersmith, London, people started claiming to have seen and even being attacked by a white-clad ghost. The ghost being dressed in a white shroud wouldn't have been weird then, because customary burial clothing was more or less a white shroud that looked like a night dress, stuff like that. So either way, them being under a white sheet and stuff, that was expected for ghosts. Either way, it was safe to say that the locals of Hammersmith were in deep ghost mania. They thought that the ghost was a man who had self-cancelled the year prior and was buried in the Hammersmith churchyard, and there could not get rest because self-cancellers can't be buried in consecrated ground. And thus he would be roaming about, scaring everyone. Many of these sightings, probably pranks, people under sheets doing their thing. Until one night, when tragedy struck. An officer on night patrol called Francis Smith was out and about. All the officers and stuff like that, they were talking about this ghost and how they were going to catch it. He was ready if it appeared. And then he saw someone dressed entirely in white. Ooh, scary. Woo. And he shot him. Well, yeah, it was a him. He shot a man called Thomas Wood, who was a bricklayer, and his white clothing were the clothes of his trade. He had just been out walking late in the clothes he used when he was working, when the officer shot him, thinking he was a ghost. The judge and jury wasn't having it, and they sentenced him to murder and the death penalty, which was then ruled over again to life in prison. Just goes to show that you can't shoot someone who you think is a ghost. Like, what was he even gonna do with that? Can you shoot a ghost? Well, either way, it was found out later that it was a local man who had been dressing up in a sheet and was scaring some young dudes. And I'm sure some other people, once the ghost mania really started hitting off, went out and did the same thing, scaring people until someone got shot. It's all fine and dandy and fun until someone gets murdered. Yeah, let's end it with that. Please let me know if you want to hear more in depth on either of these stories. I'll gladly make a separate video for that. Hope you enjoyed that morbid little ramble for you from me here today. Do like, comment and subscribe, all of that. It really warms the hermit's heart. Thank you so much for watching, and a giant extra thanks to all my lovely Patreons. I couldn't be doing this without your help. It would have actually been impossible. Yay! So thank you. You're amazing, you're my heroes. Stay tuned for more morbid fun times. Stay amazing, stay hydrated, and most important of all, stay morbid. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye!